After the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC, the Macedonian Empire was divided into numerous states. By the late 3rd century BC, there were the kingdoms of Egypt, Macedonia, the Seleucids, Bithynia, and Pergamon, amongst many others. Also, many independent Greek states had united and joined either the Epirot League, the Aetolian League, or the Achaean League. As they fought amongst each other, the Romans had united a lot of the Italian peninsula and became a strong power after the First Punic War. They had also expanded into Illyria on the border of Macedonia. In 218 BC, the Second Punic War erupted and King Philip V of Macedon heard of Hannibal's victories and hoped to take advantage of the situation. He was already at war with the Aetolian League, but he quickly made peace and then formed an alliance with the Carthaginians. Now at war with Rome in 214 BC, he landed troops in Illyria and lay siege to the city of Apollonia. The Romans quickly sent in reinforcements to Illyria, forcing Philip to burn his weak fleet and retreat to Macedonia. However, the Romans' land forces were preoccupied with the Carthaginians, so the Macedonians pushed onto Illyria on land. So the Romans made an alliance with Philip's old rivals, the Aetolian League and Pergamon. This new alliance successfully kept Philip busy over the next few years, but the Macedonians did manage to knock the Aetolians out of the war in 206 BC. However, this was just before Hannibal left Italy, so Rome and Macedon agreed to a peace, ending the First Macedon War in a bit of a stalemate. But Philip was now prevented from expanding west, so he looked to push south and started the Cretan War against Rhodes. Then, in 202 BC, Philip and Antiochus III of the Seleucids entered into an alliance with the intention of dividing a weak Egypt between themselves. Also, around the same time, Pergamon and Athens joined in the Cretan War against Philip and sent diplomats to Rome asking for help. The Romans demanded that the Macedonians stop their campaigning, but Philip ignored them and invaded Athenian Attica, thus starting the Second Macedonian War in 200 BC. The Aetolian League agreed to support Rome, but it wasn't until 198 BC, when Titus Quinctius Flamininus took control of the army, that the Romans really started to make real gains. Thousands of Romans were shipped to Greece and met the Macedonians at Cynocephalae in 197 BC. The Romans managed to outmaneuver the Macedonian phalanxes and defeated them, freeing up their path through Macedonia. So Philip sued for peace. He was forced to become a Roman ally and had to give up all claims on the Greek states, which effectively put them under the protection of Rome. Shortly after this peace was made, Rome and her new Macedonian ally decisively beat the Seleucids, who challenged Roman expansion in the region. But Philip died in 179 BC and he was replaced by his son Perseus. Perseus hoped to restore the power of Macedon, so formed alliances with Rome's rivals and the Epirot League. The king of Pergamon grew suspicious of his actions and appealed to the Romans to interfere. The Romans eventually stepped in 171 BC, starting the Third Macedon War. But the Romans were quickly defeated at the Battle of Clinicus. This defeat was blamed on their Greek allies for not providing enough support, so over the next couple years, Greek towns were sacked for retribution. Meanwhile, Perseus formed an alliance with the Illyrian king Sentius, who declared war on Rome in 169 BC, starting the Third Illyrian War. But in 168 BC, the new consul of Rome, Paulus Macedonicus, reinforced and reorganized the Roman armies in Greece. This new army at the Battle of Pydna crushed the Macedonian phalanxes once again, ending Macedonia's chances of a victory. The Romans then pushed through and crushed the Illyrians and the Epirot League. By now, the Romans could no longer trust the Macedonian kingdom, so they divided the kingdom into separate client states of Rome and annexed territory in Illyria and Epirus. The situation remained somewhat peaceful over the next decade, but in 150 BC, a man called Odriscus claimed to be the son of the deposed king Perseus and sought to claim Macedonia's independence. He gathered an army from Thrace and marched into Macedonia in 149 BC and proclaimed himself king, but the Romans, who were also fighting the Carthaginians in the Third Punic War, were quick to respond. They crushed the uprising in 148 BC, and Macedonia was fully annexed as Roman province. Rome was now the dominant power in the region, and after the Achaean War, which erupted a couple years later, they would continue to expand further south.